Hello, friend. This is Ryan Hicks of the ResellerMindset.com. And for this Reseller Friday, I want to talk to you about how laziness kills so many reselling businesses. I've been around reselling for almost 3 decades now, maybe over 3 decades if you count. When I went to flea markets as a teenager and sold random stuff, I would go to the flea market right before they opened, and I would walk around as people were setting up their booths and stuff, and I would buy stuff real cheap and then go set up my booth with all the stuff I'd purchased. And it wasn't a lot, but I would mark the price up, obviously, to make a profit and sell my stuff. All the way to the point at one time I ran out of stuff to sell, and I still had my area at the flea market. And then somebody asked about my car that was parked behind my little table I had. This is an open air flea market. And I sold them my car. I didn't have anything else to sell, so I sold them my car and made a profit off that too. So I've been reselling for many, many decades, and the thing I've seen from the early time at the flea markets as a kid to now as an adult is I've seen so many people fail and fail pretty badly in the reselling business because of laziness, because of apathy, because they start getting these ruts. Now, quite frankly, this happens in any business. You can get lazy, you can get complacent, you can just be resting on your laurels, so to speak, and it can lead to decline in the business. And sometimes once the decline starts, it's hard to ever get back to where you were. It can be very fatal to a reselling business. And I'm one of those people, unlike a lot of people who try to pretend like reselling is hard. Reselling is so easy, and I say it all the time. It really is. Now, as you scale up, of course, the difficulty ramps up a little bit, and there are more working parts, more moving parts, so to speak, and it can become more difficult. But for the average person who's just them, or maybe them and their spouse reselling stuff online, they're not even doing it full time, it's not hard. It just isn't. Anybody trying to pretend that it is, they're just not being honest with you. Maybe they're trying to make themselves feel better, like, oh, look how hard this thing I'm doing is. It's not. It can get hard as you scale up, but for most people, they're not in a position where it's really difficult at all. And that's where it's even more tragic, because they get lazy on the easiest level, the easiest step. Think of it as a game. You're on level 1 as a reseller, and you're coasting and getting complacent when you haven't even gotten to level 2. Now, I am not, and I hope you will understand this, I'm not talking about just working hard for the sake of working hard, because people get in that rut too. And while that doesn't normally crush their reselling business, it can actually be beneficial for them. It's just not the best life to live that way. And I even wrote a book called Work Smarter and Harder, and it'll be a real blessing for you. You got to get it to learn more about having a good work ethic. But in reselling, there's so many ways of cutting corners, of not doing as much. Maybe you ship an item out. How can you cut corners doing that? Well, maybe you just don't pack it as well as you should have, and it arrives damaged. See, now you created a whole bunch of problems. Your customer did not have a good experience because they get a damaged item. You now have the problem of having to pay for a return. And if you're one of those people that says, well, but I have no returns accepted, it means nothing. If you sell on eBay and most of these platforms, it doesn't matter. People can get a return if they really want to, and you're going to pay for it. So don't be a fool and think you can be sloppy and just rely on the fact, well, I have no returns accepted turned on. That doesn't mean anything. You'll still have to pay in the end. So cutting corners in those kind of situations where it leads to your item getting damaged because it wasn't packed well enough now costs you money. It costs the item is now damaged and broken. You might get a negative feedback. It's a complete waste of time, and it's something that didn't have to happen. What about in sourcing? I'll see people buy a bunch of junk because it's cheap, and then they get no sales, and they're like, I don't understand why my sales are so low. Because you're listing stuff that nobody wants. It's not valuable. It's low ticket. There's nothing good about these items you're getting, but you're getting them because they're easy to list. They're simple to list, so you get them. You get them for cheap. Maybe that's the reasoning. I'd rather pay more money for something and get a good sale than pay almost nothing or even get stuff for free. That's not worth anything, and nobody wants either. And I talk with resellers about this sometime. There is an infinite amount of inventory out there. People underestimate how much inventory is available. It is all over the place. Maybe you're not looking hard enough. Maybe you're not putting in a little bit extra effort, but there's inventory everywhere. You do not need to settle for garbage inventory that people don't want. I don't care if it's free, it means nothing. Your first thought about an item and whether you should buy it for resale should not be, is it the cheapest? That is a fatal flaw, because you can get a bunch of cheap stuff that nobody's going to ever want to buy. You can get stuff that retails for $100 for $1 each and get a whole pallet of it, only to find out that that whole pallet, while maybe that seems like a good deal, there's no one that wants it. They would even buy it at the dollar you paid for it. And you're stuck with a bunch of items that you think you got a great deal on because you got them for cheap, way cheaper than the manufacturer's suggested retail price, but you just got junk. And I'll go back to the shipping thing. What about the people who are lazy in their shipping? Not talking about how they pack it up, but they take so long. I've known people who take 3 or 4 days before they ship an item. Why? I get if it's a handmade item or something like that, and you got to make it. That's a completely different issue. But you got an item that's already made. It's just sitting there. It just needs you to pack it up and put the label on it. Why are you delaying? Why are you taking shortcuts? Why are you doing the least amount possible? I've seen so many resellers' businesses get crushed into the ground because they are doing everything as minimal as possible. They're trying to take all the shortcuts they can. They're trying to do the least amount possible. They're trying to pay the least amount possible. Everything about their business is bad. Now, you may not be in that position where you're doing everything wrong, but you might be taking up some of these things. Well, I've been buying this inventory because it's cheap. Okay, but is it selling? If it's selling for you, great. We want cheap inventory, of course, if we can get it. But if it's not selling and it's not desirable, and it's not even high dollar, why would you buy it? What about the laziness when it comes to listing? How many people don't even list every single day? It's fascinating to me when I hear people tell me they don't know why their business isn't doing well, and you find out they haven't listed in the past week. Really? Why would any platform, I don't care what platform you're selling on, eBay, Mercari, Depop, Poshmark, Amazon, whatever, why would any of them want to give you preferential treatment by showing your item to their customers in the search results when you are not active on their site? Just basic logic tells you that a seller who is on the site every day listing items and active is going to be a better seller and have less problems than the seller who's on there once a week and doesn't respond to questions and ignores people and ships slowly. My friend, you got to ramp things up. This is not a time to shrink back. This is not a time to say, well, it's so hard, or make any excuses. Talk about how your family, it's so hard. I got a family to take care of. So your family should be the reason why you do more. Your family should be the reason why you're not lazy. Your family should be the reason why you accomplish even greater things, not the excuse for why you don't do any of that. My friend, you can do great things in reselling. You can be absolutely a massive success. I don't care what your level you want to go to is. If you want to just get enough to pay for a car, whatever. If you want to make 6 figures a year, easy. If you make 7 figures a year, also easy. You can do whatever you want to do in the reselling business. It's just going to depend on the amount of effort you put into it and the wisdom you act from. And you can't go back to the ways of laziness, the indolent ways of a reseller who is not successful. You got to ramp things up. And my friend, if you will, you'll become an absolutely amazing success. I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.